Record.
Hi, this is the Sol e Luna Inspirations for Aries Full Moon coming up this Sunday, October 9th at 1:55 in the afternoon. And the theme we've coined is healing the ancestral wounds.
Welcome, everybody. This is MC Starman, and I'm with Dayana Robinson
Hello.
from beautiful Cowichan Valley.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing these days, my dear?
I'm doing a lot. I'm actually doing a lot, but I'm also feeling a lot, which is a lot.
Yeah,
For
I
lack of
think
more
it's a
descriptive
lot. I think
words.
that's a good way to put it. Yeah, that Saturn Uranus Square is within 1 degree for the last week or so, 10 days or so, and in another 10 days or so, we're feeling that tension big time, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. And it's also great, amazing times of transition. So today
Transformation, yep.
we are excited to go over the chart of the full moon coming up. It's an Aries full moon. It's pretty packed. It's a wild chart. We'll get into it soon. We're going to go over what it looks like, some of the key aspects, and then we're going to pull it up and to dive in all together and kind of dissect the chart together, which will be exciting and fun. After that, I'm going to share some recommendations for the body care, specifically around tissue salts. As you probably know by now, is one of my passions. And then Stephen asked a question on our last video we're excited to address and talk about. And then we're going to leave you with some important dates for this coming new month here and some things to be aware of.
So let's get started.
Yeah.
So this whoa. Okay. So the Aries full moon, Sunday, October 9th, the healing of the ancestral wounds. And the reason I say that is because this full moon is Sun, Venus in Libra in opposition to Moon Chiron in Aries. And so that Moon Chiron, and Chiron being the wounded healer. So what it is that drives the individual into healing. And then, of course, Moon and Chiron in Aries, and then Sun, Venus in Libra. So I summarize that to saying finding the courage to heal our ancestral wound through creativity and love.
I love it. And then we see that air grand trine with Sun, Venus, Mars, and Saturn. So all those air signs activated, making that grand trine. Lots of discipline and forward movement. What did you say with this here?
Well, the discipline and willingness to communicate with love. Really important to learn that.
It's a hard one, I find sometimes, but so
Mhm.
essential. And then the last of the Saturn Uranus square, thank goodness, for a little while, and the beginning of the end.
The beginning of the end or the end of the beginning. We're not quite sure, but this is certainly feels like times are shifting, huh? I was
Yeah.
describing this to a friend the other day, that feels like in some way all the old structures in our lives that are no longer serving us through this Saturn Uranus square, they're falling apart. And as hard as we've been trying to maintain these structures, it's become really obvious to me that they no longer serve us, or that they know, and that really is an important lesson to learn, isn't it? To let go of the old structures so that we can invite new ones. That feels really significant in my life. How are the structures in your life, my dear?
I feel like they're trembling. A lot of things are up for renegotiation or change, and everything is kind of calling to be transformed, or else it's really uncomfortable. And in that is there's a lot of uncomfortable, but it's also welcomed because I think that change is the essence of life. So we have to learn to make friends with change and transformation and see the great beauty of love and expansion that can come with change.
to learn the lesson of vulnerability in a time of change, that's what makes us available to prayer. So this time around, we're trying different things and in these recordings, and so now we're going to be looking at the chart this way. And so we talked about the Sun Venus conjunction in Libra. So let's unpack that for a little bit. Libra is ruled by Venus. So Venus is exalted very strong, and the Sun-Venus conjunction. Sun-Venus conjunction happened every about a year and a half or so. The Venus at this conjunction of Sun and Venus goes from being the morning star to going to the evening star. And so that's a very different phase of the Venus cycle. And as Venus moves ahead of the sun, she'll get brighter and brighter and higher in the sky at sunset. So that's a beautiful, that is the aspect of Venus called the Fortuna. It's, where in the period where Venus rises first, or the morning star, she's known as Aurora, and she's much more introverted. And when Venus passes the sun, she becomes much more extroverted. And this is a sun that's ruled by Venus. And so what is the Venus archetype for you, my dear?
Venus is like the muse and the creative essence and the feminine within us and the relationships aspect of ourselves.
If you look at the glyph of Venus, it's the sun and the cross of matter. So the sun expresses itself creatively through Venus. Venus is the creative voice of the sun. So then that beautiful expression of, and Libra is the air sign ruled by Venus. So it's the beauty of ideas, poetry, all beautiful concepts like justice and harmony and humility and all of these beautiful things. That's Libra, Venus, Sun. So that's that Sun, Venus. And then the Moon Chiron, the wounded healer, and Moon in exact conjunction at this full moon. Chiron is the wounded healer, so it's the ancestral wound that I've inherited from my ancestral line, and that's a really interesting story, is that my healing gifts are born out of my childhood wounding. And so that's the wounded healer. And the Moon Chiron in Aries is about going on the quest, going on the path of individuation. It's let's go. Aries is let's go. And so then we have this tension of opposite between these four planets, where healing and being in harmony and really being courageous comes from. So then that's, the title, healing the ancestral wounds. Now that full moon is supported by a very interesting grand trine with Saturn in Aquarius. Been talking a lot about Saturn in Aquarius and Mars in Gemini. And so you see that blue grand trine. So it's an air grand trine. So energetic in, Mars in Gemini. So energetic communication. Mars is also in square to Mercury. And just a little bit before here, Mercury, Mars, and Saturn are in a grand trine, leading to this grand trine. So that's a lot about, speaking our truth and expressing ourselves and knowing, we're in this great time of healing and the discipline to express what is no longer serving us so that we can heal. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, I see that big time.
It's kind of fleshing it out that way, huh?
Yeah.
And then we've been talking about Uranus in conjunction with the North Node in square to Saturn, and the line is getting thicker and thicker. And if you look back down here, you got Uranus at 18.5, and you got Saturn at 18.44 of Taurus, Aquarius. So within 39 degrees. So this is at minutes. So it's within 1 degree, and it's been with 1 degree, and it will be till Saturn turns direct later this month. And then Saturn will move towards Pisces really rapidly, and that'll be the end of that Saturn Uranus square. So that's been quite an adventure, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, feeling that big right now.
So much tension right now. It's very similar to what we were going through before, in the last 3 Saturn Uranus square, we were going through the pandemic. Now this fourth one, it's become a socio-economic, political, but also a lot of people's health are challenged in so many different ways, and it's been, and our immune system are depleted. I've had to let go of a whole lot of things because it's just too much pressure. So, and focusing myself on the healing processes that are important. So healing that ancestral rage, right?
Yeah, Saturn, to my understanding, is associated often with the immune system. And if it's at this constant kind of tug of war fight, then it gets depressed. By depressed, I mean it gets exhausted at one point, and wherever that's showing up in your personal life, I'm sure there's a point in somewhere in your life where you're maybe feeling pretty exhausted and done with the battle. Yeah.
Saturn is the last planet in the solar system before you go to the invisible planets. So Chiron, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, the transpersonal planets, they're not visible to the naked eye. Saturn is the last one that is. And so it signifies the boundaries of the individual. So when Saturn is weak in a chart or in an individual, then unconscious or collective things can enter. We don't have a really good sense of boundaries. A weak Saturn, any kind of skin disease, or not knowing my boundaries, or not knowing where I begin and I end. That's the Saturnian lesson, huh? And you have some medicines you want to share with us.
Yeah. So this new moon is pretty potent. It's Chiron Venus having an opposition full moon in their own essence in a way. And that can bring up a lot. So the Aries full moon, the Aries moon is going to be what's accentuated. Aries ruling our head and our face. And the tissue salt that's associated is Kali Phos, which is also potassium phosphate. And so this is a nerve nutrient, really good for your nervous system, especially the nervous system that's the central nervous system, supporting your brain. And like I said, central nervous system. So things like headaches, backaches, sciatica, and neurologic pain can be things that are a sign that you could be deficient in this tissue salt. And so the communication in that central nervous system is depleted. So it's a good thing to watch out for. And this is a really helpful tool. Or if you find that you just get headaches very easily and you haven't found a tool that's helpful for that, this might be something to try out. Some herbs that also support this high Aries energy can be hops, garlic, nettle, blessed thistle, and cayenne. And these are all great because they help to dissipate that heat. So in Aries, there's a lot of heat that rises up to the head, and that is helpful to instigate and get things going. Like Marta was saying, the Aries is to do things, but when it doesn't come back down or when it stays up there, it can offset our balance. And so really important to calm and recycle the blood and bring it back down to. Some fun things you can do if you're feeling a lot of energy in the head can be to either maybe change up your hair, get a haircut, change the energy there, do a scalp treatment for yourself, or start a new creative project, because ultimately it's a great creative energy. And that will be probably one of the best ways to get through this new moon, especially if there's a lot of potential things coming up from your past or aspects of your healing that are having a hard time processing. Creativity is definitely a powerful, powerful medicine.
For Mercury turning direct, I shaved my head and shaved my face.
There you go,
And
nice.
and then the Libra
Yeah,
sun.
so Aries is the peak of this full moon, but we're in Libra season right now. So Libra's where the sun's at, and all those beautiful neutrons coming from the sun are coming through the eyes of Libra. So Libra is another phosphate, sodium phosphate or NatPhos. So these phosphates are really all about the nervous system. So again, this Libra Aries axis, the nervous system, bringing it back to our nervous system is really important, regulating yourself. NatPhos or sodium phosphate, this tissue salt is number 10, and it's really helpful again for the brain, but again, circulating and supporting the nerves throughout the whole body. So not just the central nervous system, but the whole nervous system within the whole system is really nice. It helps to also balance fluids within the system, so really supporting the digestive aspects of your nervous system. If it's not in balance, it can show up things like a lot of flatulence, or it can show up like anxiety, tightness within the muscles, maybe hypertension within the blood. So really helping to balance out the fluids within the system. Good old Libra, loving to balance.
It really feels that a lot of us are trying to put a lot into what's going on right now, you know, and we're really pushing. So nurturing ourselves and letting go of so much expectations seems really important, no? So then we had we have a new subscriber, Stephen, who asked us a really beautiful question. And so we're going to share. It's actually a very simple question, but it's a very important one. So,
yeah, it's fundamental.
So Stephen asked, what is meant by the term square? We've been using T square, that's a 90-degree angle. So a square, if you know, so the zodiac, a circle is 360 degrees. If you divide the circle into 4 exact 90-degree parts, you get what is called squaring the circle. So that's why a 90-degree angle between two planets is called a square. This is called the T-square. And when you have planets in all 4 points, you have what is called a grand cross or a grand square. So squaring the circle into 4 90-degree angles divides the circle into an exact square. That makes sense, huh?
Yeah.
Now, why is a square so tense?
Well, one is that when you divide the circle into 4, you're getting a different element every time. They also usually associate it like water. So if you have water and you're directing it to kind of go around a curve, there can be a lot of momentum that builds up as it goes around that curve. But if now you're directing water to go hit a whole wall and then suddenly turn 90-degree angles, that adds a lot of pressure and tension. And that can often, if you don't pressurize your water pipes right, for instance, it can even burst things. And so there's this radical shift of energy direction, or in this instance can be coming from a whole different element. And so there's a stress component there.
So anytime you have a box like that in the zodiac, all 4 are the different elements. So what I think that's interesting to know is that the 2 that are opposite will be in the same polarity. And so that what you really have here is feminine elements and masculine elements united. So for example, water and earth, air and fire. You know, so then you'll have, well, so actually it'll be fire, water is Aries, water is Cancer, air is Libra, earth is Capricorn. And so it is, so in alchemy and in Jungian psychology, squaring of the circle means resolving the chaos. It's a symbol of individuation. So here's an old alchemical woodcut, and you got the sacred marriage. The rebus is a hermaphroditic connection of the sun and the moon into one. So that's the masculine and the feminine. Here we have the dragon that the hero needs to conquer. And then we have Venus and Mars and Mercury and Jupiter and Saturn that support the process of individuation. And here you have the square, but you also have the trine. And so that will be for another time. But this is a very important basic of astrology, is understanding your grand crosses. And how many grand crosses are there, Day?
Well, that's a good pop quiz question. 3?
3. There is the cardinal grand
Right.
cross. There's the fixed grand cross, and there's the mutable grand cross. And so we'll have that for you. Well, we can say it really quickly. What is the so we started Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. That's the cardinal grand cross.
Initiators.
Then the fixed grand cross.
Taurus,
Leo,
Scorpio,
Aquarius, and then the mutable grand cross.
Maintainers, Gemini,
Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces.
Yeah.
And so that's for, thank you, Stephen, for that question. That was beautiful, and I hope you enjoyed that. And then let's close out with the important dates. So Mercury turned retrograde. We're doing this on the 3rd of October. So Mercury turned station direct yesterday. It was palpable, wasn't it?
I sure felt it. Yeah, it was quite a mental shift, let's say.
Before the full moon, Pluto stations direct. So now Pluto will be moving into Aquarius, you know, so now we're working to, it doesn't move into Aquarius till March. So now it's at about 27 degrees.
But not till like 24, 5, I thought.
No, it moves this winter, it moves into Capricorn, into Aquarius. Well, it's very interesting because he'll go into Aquarius, he'll come back into Capricorn, he'll go back into Aquarius, he'll go back into Capricorn.
Twice.
3 times.
3 times.
He'll does that dance 3 times till 2025. It's very interesting. We'll talk about this much more.
That's a different video.
Yes, many videos. And then October 9th, that's the full moon. And then the 11th, Mercury turns into Libra. We'll all feel that.
So right now we're really going over the same degrees in Mercury that we've been over the last 2 months, like month and a half, at least month and a bit. A lot of reflection and maybe making changes and shifts to whatever you've started or been mulling over in your mind the last few weeks.
Big time of readjustments, and now we're kind of clear and moving forward. On the 21st, a Sun-Venus conjunction. We were talking about that in the video earlier, the significance of the Sun-Venus conjunction. So that happens on the 21st. And then we have Saturn stations direct on the 23rd. So after the 23rd, things that Saturn Uranus Square, Saturn will be moving away, and it moves into Pisces in March as well. So really rapidly, by the time Christmas comes around, Saturn It's going to be 10 degrees away from the square with Uranus, so we'll see a rapid easing of the tension. And then October 25th, that's the first of the eclipse, Scorpio new moon, and then in October 30th, Mars stations retrograde. We'll talk about that. And then Mercury ingresses into Scorpio, blah, 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 blah. So much.
A lot of forward energy, though. This month is a lot of forward energy and a lot of, what did you say, changes? Transform? No, you just said it. A lot of shifting.
Well, a lot of shifting, a lot of tension, really. As long as that Saturn Uranus is within 1 degree of each other,
All month.
we're gonna feel that. We're gonna feel that, but then we're gonna feel, you know, some release of tension as we go along. We talked about we recommend a video for you. We did a video about the eclipse season, the last video last week that we did. We'll leave you a link on this at the end of the video. That's really informative about understanding the meaning. And I think that November 8th lunar eclipse there will really be the beginning of the easing of the tension. I would imagine that leading up to that, we're going to be kind of maintaining the same pace that we've been going at through the summer. It's kind of been gradually getting more intense, but we talked about this all along, huh?
Yeah. Well, I feel like there's more space to be present with the energies now that things are a little bit more inward turned and fall is here.
The video started a little bit rough. We had a couple of little glitches. We're learning how to edit slowly, but surely we're gonna get better at this. We thank you so much for supporting our videos and our channel, sharing, commenting, even pressing the like button. All of those things are super important. And if you can share the videos with your friends, that really helps us grow. Thank you for your support. Thank you, Stephen, for your questions. Do post a question and we'll answer it in our next video. Dayana, that was really wonderful.
Right back at you, my time. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
And
Have
so,
a beautiful full moon.
we are Dayana Robinson, and this is the Healer and the Dreamer Astrology, and that file got messed up. Well,
Unfortunate.
little step at a time. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye
Whoop,
for
whoop,
now.
whoop.